This road is actually State Highway 3, North Island of New Zealand. Even though the speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour, the roads aren't all that fantastic, and I'm just sitting on 80, which is a fairly comfortable speed on this type of road. Surfaces a little bit to be desired. The large trucks seem to chop it up a bit. We run with a rough seal here, quite a rough chip, so it gives you quite a lot of tyre noise also. But just for a safe drive and a pleasant drive, keeping your speed around 80 to 90 kilometers an hour on these sort of corner areas is probably the best plan. We have suggested speed maximums on some of these corners, so that says 65 k's. Well, we're still sitting on 80, which is more than comfortable in a Mercedes. You don't get very many passing opportunities. I think that leads to quite a lot of frustration with some drivers. Probably leads to a lot of crashes, especially head-on crashes where people just get so frustrated they pass in the wrong areas, around corners or over hills. I think it's best just to be patient. You'd be surprised sometimes a vehicle will just turn off, or a passing lane will present itself anyway. Looks like as I'm heading south, the weather looks to be getting a little bit more overcast. I wouldn't be surprised if I do get a little bit of rain a little bit later in the day. This particular leg of the journey is about 400 kilometers. I just gassed up before in a small town called C180. Some of the cheapest gas we've got here in New Zealand at the moment. I paid $2.40 New Zealand dollars, $2.40 for 1 litre of gas. Even when you translate that to other currencies, that's not too bad for this time where we're having some unbelievably high prices for our gas and diesel. Most of the time I'm getting about 7 litres per 100 kilometres, which is not too bad. I had planned to bring my Santa Fe down for this trip, but I might have mentioned a while ago in another video, I'm having trouble with the heating. It's got dual temperature control, Santa Fe has. And on the driver's side, which is the right hand side of the car for my vehicle, the climate control won't go up to heat on the AC. I can only get cold on that side. On the left hand side of the vehicle, no problems getting temperature control on that side. So in the end, I spent some time and I started pulling the car apart. My gosh, that's a big job in itself. Unfortunately, with a right-hand drive car, the foot brake, emergency foot brake, is right beside the AC system up there under the dash, and you've got a couple of actuators which control the blending of temperature and the airflow, etc. Well, to get up into that area, it was an absolute nightmare. Had to take most of the dashboard apart. So if you've ever taken your dashboard apart on the 2007 Santa Fe, you need to get those plastic tools so you don't damage any of the surfaces. You can very carefully take that whole wooden fascia trim that goes across the whole width of the dashboard. You can take that out very carefully. On my car, I took it out from the left-hand side of the vehicle, but in some of your vehicles, you'll take it out from the right-hand side of the vehicle. And that comes out. It pops out fairly carefully. If you just take your time, it'll pop out. And that allows you then to start getting access into the area around the AC dual control panel And it's also the only way you can replace the stereo radio system in that model car as well. So I watched a bit of YouTube from other people that had gone down this process, and I found it fairly straightforward once I just took my time on it. But unfortunately, the YouTubes that I've been looking at, they all seem to be for left-hand drive Santa Fe's, and mine being a right-hand drive, it's a bear to get up into that area to remove those actuators on the AC box. I'm going to make a video of it. I've still got the car in 100 pieces up underneath in there, and oh my gosh, the number of screws and bolts I had to take out just to get access in there, and even them you can't really easily get to some of the posi drive head screws there. So I'm going to get myself a little flat driver, just using the posi drive 1/4 inch bit, and then I'm going to put it into something like a 7mm ring spanner so that I can get it up in there and start undoing some of these screws, which are just right beside the bracketry that holds the emergency brake lever in place. I had a look to see if I can remove that emergency brake lever, but it's all welded, the bracketry is all welded up inside the dash support frame. I mean, what an unbelievably difficult job to get to on this particular car. I had a look at one video, and the guys had taken the whole dash completely out of the vehicle to get access and to replace the evaporator. And I thought, well, that's getting pretty extreme. I hope I never have to get to that level of dismantling. So anyway, that's where I'm at the moment. I did manage to open one of the flaps manually. I thought that might be the problem. Took it for a drive, still no heat on the driver's right hand side of the vehicle. So now I'm suspicious. I'm wondering whether it might be my the heater control panel down on the bottom of the dashboard, where you've got your passenger and driver dual control knobs. So I'm a bit reluctant to buy one, but I'm thinking I might have to buy one to actually see if that's the problem. I guess if it's not the problem, I can always sell it again. So I had a look on eBay. They seem to sell for about $100, including shipping. So I think I might get one of those, because it may be that the problem is in the control side of things. So I'm still learning a bit about this system, whether or not it actually controls the water flow valves, as well as the AC cold control as well. I'm not too sure how it would do that for the dual control, or whether it's just a matter of controlling the airflow with these air flaps. So any comments from any of you that have come across this problem on the 2007 Santa Fe would be much appreciated. It's driving me crazy really, because it's so cold down here, and I really just don't want to drive it because it's just so unpleasant. I like to be nice and warm in my vehicle when I'm driving this time of the year in the winter season. So I just haven't been using the vehicle, which is a pity, because it is actually quite a nice vehicle to travel in, and not too bad on gas, being the 2.7 litre V6 engine, all-wheel drive of course. Anyway, so that's why I'm actually driving the Mercedes today. I actually do enjoy driving the Mercedes as well, don't get me wrong, but I was thinking that this particular trip I would take the Santa Fe. It just means also that if we go out with family, 7 seats is sometimes convenient, going out for a meal or something like that. The C180 is not a big vehicle. In fact, when I put it beside my wife's 2005 Honda Civic, the dimensions are pretty similar, which is interesting. Anyway, just rambling along. The drive out here is fairly uneventful, which I guess is a good thing. I don't like too much drama. We're still only sitting on about an 80k speed. Most vehicles are just minding their own business. You can see watching the video that the traffic flow is not really heavy. This part of the country is not highly populated, so the vehicles are mainly vehicles which are probably travelling from one city to another. getting a few spits on the windscreen now, so we may be in for a small amount of rain. Outside temperature at the moment is 12 degrees Celsius. A little bit cooler than what it was in Auckland this morning at about 16. Couple of Infinities there. You see a few of the Infinities down here. Most of those types of vehicles are Japanese imports, second-hand imports from Japan. This is today's Saturday. I've taken Monday off my work, so I've got one day less of teaching next week, so that I can have an easier drive this weekend. And then the Queen Elizabeth passing away has meant that here in New Zealand we have a holiday on Monday the 26th of September, so that is another long weekend. This doesn't look too good here. What is that? A Suzuki Swift. The airbags have gone off. It's obviously had some problem, which is a bit sort of strange, because this is quite a high gradient. He would have been coming up the hill, and there somehow might have been coming down and spun around. Pretty similar to my own Suzuki Swift that I have. I have a 2005 model Suzuki Swift 1300 automatic. Done about 190k that I've lent to my daughter down in Taranaki for her to use as her daily driver. I got a small job to do on that car this weekend. The brake light strip up on the top of the hatch, it's got a couple of lamps that have gone out, so I brought down some new lamps to put in there. Had a look on YouTube. Doesn't look like a big job. Lift up the hatch, and looks like a couple of 10mm nuts at the back of the hatch should release the brake strip light from the surface of the hatch panel, so that I can get in the back of it and replace the lamps. Looks like it's got about 6 lamps in there, 5 or 6 lamps. I don't know if it's an issue, but our warrant of fitness testing in New Zealand can be unbelievably pedantic, and I think they'll probably complain about that, so I'm going to be doing that in the weekend. I might make a little video actually on how that job goes. Hopefully it's one of those jobs which is easy. The number of jobs I've tackled recently tend to be a bit of a pain, you know, to deal with. Yeah, that's just how things sometimes go. And I might make a little video when I get back home to Auckland on adding the reversing camera to my Yaris. I added a touchscreen 7-inch stereo unit and reversing camera, installed the reversing camera into my little pink 2001 Yaris. That turned out really great, very happy with that. As soon as you select reverse, it kicks the camera on wherever you're at, and then when you go back into drive, it brings back the radio again to the station you're on. And it's a Chinese import 7-inch screen. Went into the software. The pin number is 1234, enter if you're thinking about that, and you can set up your logo intro for your vehicle. So I've got it coming up with the Toyota logo before it goes onto the radio, which looks quite cool. So I did all that on my 2001 Yaris, and then the other day I went and fitted a new 7-inch touchscreen into my 2005 Yaris, and the camera arrived, so I'm going to fit a camera onto that vehicle probably in the next weekend or two. So I'll video that on how straightforward that is to pick up the signal out of the reversing lamp on the rear lamp fitting of the Yaris. My one's actually called a Vitz, but it's still a Yaris. Most countries call it the Yaris 1.3 Toyota Vitz or Yaris vehicle. And my wife's Civic has just got the standard Honda radio cassette player in it from the day, but it does have a double DIN hole where it's got the little pocket there to put your your sunglasses or something underneath the stereo. So I think I'll get another one of these little 7-inch screens and a camera and set one up for her vehicle. Those little 7-inch units are pretty good. They got Bluetooth and all of the bells and whistles for New Zealand dollars, only $60, which even buying it on eBay out of China directly with the free shipping is still around about the same figure. I've got to wait like 2 to 3 weeks for it to arrive, whereas I can pick it up on a local auction site here in New Zealand for, I think it was about $68 or something like that, which I thought was pretty good. It only took a day to arrive to my house. Very, very simple install. As long as you've still got the metal bracketry, mounting brackets from your original stereo system in your car, it's a fairly straightforward job. I did have to drill a couple of extra holes to bring the front of the fascia flush with my dash. This guy's obviously pissed off at the speed we're going. We're doing 100 actually. We're doing 100 now. And there he is in the old Hilux, burning off down passing us all. Good luck on him. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of an update on some of the things I've been doing, but probably like yourselves, busy with work, and you only really have your weekends to do some of these little project jobs. I haven't had much time to get back onto my Honda 250 XL Degree or my Honda XR 250R for a few months actually. They're just sitting under wraps in my shed. I would like to start working back on them. There's little things I'm still doing on them. With the XR 250R, she's ready for the next dirt bike ride coming up probably in November, December. But because I hadn't used it for a while, the carburetor got gummed up. I sort of drained the gas out of it, and so now I have to sort of clean the carby up, which, although it's quite visible, it's a bit of a pain to get to it. You still got to get in there, remove airbox connections and all that sort of stuff, and all of the throttle push-pull cables, and all that sort of stuff's a bit of a pain to do. When really I should have just drained the gas and I might have been better off. It starts, but it just idles. As soon as I try to open the throttle, it just cuts out. So I think that's a blocked jet, from what I've seen in the past happen on that bike. So, well, not on that bike, on my other XLs I've had a similar problem, just leaving them too long. I might make a little video on that as well. Anyway, hopefully you're enjoying the ride a little bit through here. Typical of New Zealand countryside, more corners than straights. Road is never all that flash, surface is quite marginal in places. A few slips due to the heavy rainfall we've been getting over winter. You'll see a couple of those turn up on the down here. There's a big one here that looks like it was just stopped in time by that concrete wall there. Sometimes they come across the road and block off one of the lanes. The clay structure of our terrain, it just lends itself to landslides. We don't have a lot of rocky terrain. Most of it's sort of like, they call it papa. It's like a sandstone type material, easily washed out by heavy rainfalls. At these speeds, the Mercedes C180 is only sitting on about 1500 RPM. It's just off idle speed, to be honest. It's very, very easy, a pleasure to actually drive, handle like they're on rails of course, and doesn't require any effort at all really. This one's got the leather, or the the Mercedes fake leather interior, so it's quite a comfortable ride. I believe the actual inserts where you sit is actually real leather. The rest of it I'm pretty sure is vinyl. Looks the piece though. And I've got an indoor temperature, I suppose, of in the 25. I think I've got my setting to. It's quite comfortable inside the cabin here. Outdoor temperature at the moment is, it's gone up to 13 degrees. We have quite a lot of pinus radiata. You see that big forest ahead of us? That looks like it's getting close to maturity for milling. Most of our timber is exported overseas to China and Japan. Comes back to us as furniture, I guess. Anyway, I'll sign off now and catch you a little bit later on. Thanks very much for taking the time to view this. Sorry for the bumpiness of the image. Can't be helped, I just have a very crude mounting on my windscreen.